Oh, hello, fellow university student. It is I, your classmate. Are you looking for an interesting podcast to watch and or listen to? Well, check out the Convos with Calvin podcast, hosted by Calvin Holton. You can watch and listen to the Convos with Calvin podcast on youtube.com, Anchor, and now Spotify. That's a wild one. And if you want, you can support the Convos with Calvin podcast for as little as $1 a month on patreon.com. And for $1 a month, you can get access to an exclusive Discord server. And you can get your name shouted out on the podcast. What's better than supporting a small-time creator besides micro-brewed, cold brew, iced coffee, and avocado toast? I don't know. Anyway, see you in class.
Hey, it's me, Calvin, and it's a day later. And I just remembered that in the podcast with Dylan, I didn't get to shout out the Patreons. So my current Patreons right now are my boy Edgar and my friend Taylor. So remember, if you guys enjoy this episode of the podcast, you can go ahead and support me on Patreon. If not, just make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Anyway, enjoy the episode.
There we go. Now we can sync up all the audio. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Convos of the Calvin podcast. My name is Calvin, and today I'm joined by my friend Dylan.
Hello.
What's up, Dylan? How you doing?
Nothing. I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is my second podcast today, but it's gonna come out at 2 different times.
Just grinding.
Yeah, just grinding the things, dude. I asked if I could borrow the mobile podcast, and that's what we're doing. There's a little kinks that I'm going to talk to Mr. Grant about, but you know what? We'll work it out. So yeah. Speaking of working out some problems, not only have I asked for some questions, but I've asked for people to share disagreements they may be having with me.
I saw that and I was like, oh, this is about to get real weird.
But I think I only have one right now, so we'll see if we get more throughout the podcast.
We'll do it live.
Okay. Yeah, we're just going to do it live. We'll do it live. We're doing it live. My dad yelled at my boss. How do I smooth over this relationship without explicitly bringing it up?
What one? The one with the boss or with the dad?
I'm guessing it with the boss.
Oh, without bringing it up?
So you see, what I would do was I would just make a very elaborate ruse, and I would start writing a play. And then you write this play, and you cast very good character actor who can also eat a hard-boiled egg and talk at the same time, Danny DeVito. And you write this one-act play where Danny DeVito, sitting on a park bench eating a hard-boiled egg and also talking, somehow yells at a man, and then you come on stage and say, "Can we please stop arguing? He didn't mean it."
It's so elaborate.
They asked for advice.
I'm so like, what situation would your dad yell at your boss? Like, what?
I don't know. What if your boss was just like, "I'm gonna schedule you a lot," and then be really mean to you?
That's like the whole thing where like the parents will agree with the child.
What if they work at a restaurant? They do work at a restaurant, and what if they were there eating dinner and then something was wrong with their order and they just like really got into it?
What if the boss is your dad?
Yeah. What if the boss is your dad?
Oh man. Where it gets real weird.
For real.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, pretty much just like, if you're trying not to bring it up, maybe it'll just like go away. That's usually my method. It'll stop being mad.
It'll go away eventually.
It'll resolve itself eventually.
It'll resolve.
Commissioner to the stars.
This podcast is just going to be camp jokes the whole time.
Incredible.
It's gonna be hilarious.
What more could you possibly want, though?
Exactly. Speaking of camp, do you have any like stories where you're just like, wow, from this past summer? So Dylan and I both work at the same scout camp together. Dylan was the Adventure Zone director, which means all of the off-camp excursions he was directly in charge of.
Yes.
So
first off, AZ Go.
AZ Go.
AZ Go. But I feel like like 90% of my stories, like this summer was less shenanigan based as much as it was just like fueled by what is it? Just wild confusion over what my job is and like what I'm putting up with on a daily basis.
Because you were just kind of like thrown. You literally didn't you just like you got it on a chance? Like someone was like, "Hey, do you want this?" And you were like, "Yeah, sure."
I went up for December. Like I went up in December just to see some friends, pretty much, and we were gonna go to a key staff. Or no, this wasn't even the key staff meeting. We were just gonna go to like the December like party, and I was like legit walking around the meeting and just doing my own thing. And then Jacob, who was our commissioner at the time, was like looking for people to take over leadership roles. And I literally like they were standing by food. I remember that. And I like went over to go get food or like a soda or something. And I'm like sitting there and Jacob kind of like nudges me and he's like, "Hey, how you feel about being the Adventure Zone director?" And I was like, "What?" Like I thought he was joking. And then he was like super real. He's like, "No, I'm for real." And then he like looked over at the camp director who was standing right next to him and he gave me this like super serious look. He's like, "No, I'm for real." And
The man.
And I'm like, I hope like you realize like I'd love to do that, but like I've never done that before, right? He was like, "You'll be fine."
You'll be
I was
fine.
like, okay.
What I think is funny is I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, but like, have you ever sat down and thought about how similar you and Kyle kind of ended up? Like you worked your ass off for years to be handicraft director, like Kyle did to be O Skills director,
Exactly.
and then you both just somehow happened to fall into AZ director.
I feel like that's me and Kyle. We're really like me and Ryan are as similar as me. Me and Kyle do like a lot of the same things. Like obviously we both play.
You two have like even your mannerisms are the exact same. It's
insane.
wild.
It was really funny because somebody at camp a few years ago, he was like just standing next to us. He'd never met me before. This was when I was just doing sandwiches with AZ, and Kyle was there one night.
Sandwich
And-
queen.
Sandwich queen. And the dude was like, "So you guys are brothers?" And he's like, how'd you know that? Like, we've seen him for like 5 minutes. And he's like, "Look at how you guys are standing." We like looked at each other.
Yeah, you guys
And we're
stand.
like, "Oh my
yeah.
God." We're like,
I hate to be a bad host, but could you grab my Chick-fil-A cup?
"Oh, yeah, I got you, man. What you got? Lemonade?"
Yeah, you want me to hold your mic?
Yeah. What you...
Now I got 2 mics. You can't even handle this.
But
Thank you.
yeah, we ended up doing a lot of the same stuff, and it's really, I feel like part of it's because like I'm really bad at making my own decisions,
Mhm.
and I see people make cool decisions, and I'm like, that seems pretty cool. But also just like I guess there's like an attraction to doing these kinds of things that
Yeah.
we've shared for a while. So
So, what I think is funny is so this was William's first year too.
Yes.
Well, it took Tommy until the end from staff week till the end of teardown to finally realize that William and I were
that
siblings.
sounds about right. Yeah. I mean, you guys
It's-
don't exude the same.
We don't have the same mannerisms, but
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where William and I don't really look the same, but once someone points it out, it's all you can see.
Yeah.
Is that we're like,
it's like
really
the-
similar.
From How I Met Your Mother, where the glass shatters.
Yeah, the glass shatters.
All of a sudden, that's all you can ever hear or see. You're like, oh my God. But yeah, me and Kyle have a lot of similarities in that area. And
Yeah.
well, a lot of differences in other areas, but
That is also true. You have one functioning knee. He has none.
this is true. Yeah, we're thriving right now.
For real.
But
The O'Connors have weak knees,
it
but they
I
also
finally-
play ultimate frisbee, which is really hard on your knees.
finally
so.
put it in my Instagram bio. I was like looking for something new to put for like where my high school was or something.
Uh-huh.
I just put like quote ... knees weak ... end quote Eminem. And that's it. It's like the biggest move I've ever
I love about your go follow Dylan0777 on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
You have never deleted an Instagram post except for maybe ones with like your ex, but other than that, your Instagram feed has been the same to my knowledge.
Pretty much. I've deleted like one or two here and there, just like that were super weird or like super
Yeah.
old or didn't really like, because a lot of them like,
You can find pictures of baby Dylan on there, this face,
Yeah.
but like from 7 years ago. It's wild.
because a lot of people delete their Instagram posts, and like I
Yeah.
get that, but it's like one of those things. I think it's partially just because I'm lazy, because like I'll go
Mm-hmm.
back and I'll like look through my Instagram and like see dates, and I'm like, oh, that's super. Like just recently was the 5th year anniversary from when I played my first ever Ultimate.
Oh,
tournament.
geez.
That was actually over
Yeah,
the trip.
yeah.
So I was like looking at Instagram because I was super bored, and I was like, oh my God, look at that. Like that's super
Yeah.
cool. So,
I like that. Every year that we've gone on the ski trip, that's always like a topic of discussion. You were like, oh, this is 3 years ago.
Yeah,
This is 4 years ago. And we didn't have that this year.
Because it's always over. The tournament's been over the same weekend.
Yeah.
Forever, and we always just get screwed over because we have a snowboarding trip.
Mm-hmm.
Snowboarding's pretty solid, so
I say it's a worthy trade.
yes.
Knee machine didn't break this weekend.
Did not.
Or last
I was
weekend.
really scared, but
What was I gonna say?
we made it work.
Oh, but you were talking about deleting posts. Like, I feel like it was a little bit different for like my Instagram, because when I started my Instagram, I was raised in a family where it's like, if you're online, never share your true identity ever.
Oh, that's yeah.
So like when I got social media, which the whole point is sharing who you are, sharing your life, I would only post like fan art of video games and stuff. And then I started making it into like an actual Instagram account. And then literally before I started getting to high school, I looked at my Instagram, which was called The Master Shalvin 1 at the time.
Yes.
And all of my posts, and I was like, this is really cringy.
Yeah.
So I went through and I cleaned it all out. I changed the account name to, I think, just Shalvin 1, because someone had Shalvin 1 at the time when I first made my Instagram account. And then that happened, and I kept that for all of freshman year. And then going into sophomore year, I went through and deleted more posts and changed it to Calvin Holt 99, which is what it is now.
Yeah.
And it's been the same. And I think the only posts I've deleted have been like posts with X's.
Yeah, that's one of the, like, I've never changed my usernames on anything either. Like, I just found the one because I was like, I never was really about that, but
My name's Dylan. Oh, my favorite number
Yeah,
is 7,
exactly.
and having it 3 times is just
it's
lucky.
because somebody already had like 7 and 77, so I was like, we'll do 3 7s, and then it worked.
777.
We'll just stick with that forever.
You can't stop me.
But yeah, like
I'm gonna
just
back up the camera a
I
little
feel
bit
like
more.
I'm one of the, like, I feel
Man,
like a
I
lot
look
of
like I
people,
have a pompadour right now. I'm sorry for cutting you off,
it's a
but
dream. Oh, you're fine. I
it's
feel like
just
a lot
funny.
of people just delete stuff on Instagram. And, like, they'll post something and then delete it like 2 days later, and I just don't get that.
my family has been watching a lot of Little House on the Prairie recently,
I do.
and I have the same hair as the dad right now.
The loaf of bread.
Yeah, the loaf
You're
baby.
getting pretty long, actually.
It is. I've been meaning for a while to go get a haircut, and I might go do it later. Get a haircut, shave,
At Ryan.
actually look like a 18-year-old individual again.
Ryan needs to or he needs to
Ryan,
like get a haircut. That's what he needs to do. But
I don't want to make the podcast about him, but he has some work he needs to do.
he's a character.
He is. He's
Just
interesting.
slowly figuring it out. I
Yeah.
guess, but it's just different pace.
Yeah. It's like talking about siblings. Like you and Kyle are so similar, and then Ryan's just like there.
Kyle was like, he's really weird because Kyle was like Ryan in the sense that he really wasn't organized and like just like, for example, like applying to colleges, he didn't do any.
And
of that
Kyle would
until-
always argue with your dad,
Oh yeah, it was
just like Ryan kind of does. And I think that's why Ryan does it, is because he would see your brother
yeah.
fighting back against your dad all the time. So Ryan kind of was like, "Oh, he's my older brother, so that's okay."
Yeah.
So
I feel like me and him don't argue that much just because, like, one, I'm often wrong, and like, two,
you and your dad, yeah.
I feel I know.
And if even if you're not wrong, your dad will make you wrong.
I sit down and think about it every once in a while, and like, honestly, like, I feel like I don't have the attention span to argue for as long as he does.
No,
Like,
well,
I'm just-
Kyle and your dad would like argue for literally weeks.
so-
They'd argue till late at night, and then they'd go to bed, and they'd wake up the next morning, and they'd continue arguing.
I'd go through so many events before they finished. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like start playing video games, and I'd like stop and do homework. And it's like, maybe I'll get in bed. and it was like,
Speaking of games, guess what came out a couple weeks ago?
what?
A new Mario and Sonic at the Olympics.
Oh my god, yes. Oh my God. What is it? I feel like it's different because it's on the Switch though, so it's not like a.
Yeah, the sprinting one is like weird now. So like, you know how you would just shake the Wii remote and that would be it? Now you like just use one Joy-Con
Unacceptable.
and you like, so you have to like stand there and you have to like hold a button and then you have to like let go and swing to do like a start, and then you have to
That's
shake
so
it.
Weird. I
It's
feel like,
like-
instinctively I'd end up using both hands and look.
Yeah, me too. It's just like,
like
it was
full on
like, how do we make running with a Wii remote?
look even.
And they were like, plug in the nunchuck and you have to swing your arms really fast.
I feel like taking away like, because Mario and Sonic the Olympic Games like undoubtedly would destroy your arms. Like if you
Specifically the 2008 Beijing version.
That's the truth. But like if I'd never played the other one. I played the winter ones, but that's not.
The only one that I owned for a console was that one, and then the sequel, the 2012 Winter Games, I had on the DS, which had a like action adventure story mode to it, where you would go around and there would be mini games exclusive to the story mode, but you would also compete in events.
Yeah.
And you have to get like medals to go get things, and you'd find these like marbles and you'd like crack them open and they'd be full of like memorabilia for other Olympics, so you could collect like all of the Olympic torches and stuff. It was really cool, and it was a cool way to interweave like the history of the Winter Olympics into a video game. But you could also run around as Mario and or Sonic, so that was cool.
But yeah, whoa, I just got a lot louder. But it's like one of those.
It's because the receiver of the mic is in front of it and not like the top of it.
Figuring my life
It's
out right
weird.
now. You're gonna like look at this video and I'm gonna be doing all sorts of weird stuff.
I mean, me too.
That game was just so good, and I feel like that's one of the. I feel like we might get that because I don't play a whole lot of video games as is. But like,
well, you guys have a Switch now too.
I still play. I only play the PS3. Like I've never played anything on the Switch.
Understandable.
Really weird. Like I still like yesterday. I played FIFA for a while, and then I got super frustrated, so I stopped. Like FIFA World Cup, like 2016.
Yeah.
Very.
Oh my gosh.
And then, or no, not even. Maybe 2013. I don't know what years the FIFAs are, but it was a while ago.
Who even cares about the outdated roster? I mean, it's just a game. Just play it, dude.
And then I got the I started playing Lego Star Wars just because I got super bored.
Oh yeah, and we were talking about that the other day too.
So that's the other.
We're talking so much about Lego Star Wars.
I'm kind of hyped about both those games.
What's gonna make me upset about Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is that like it's gonna come out, and while the game could totally be on like last gen consoles and stuff, it's not, because they're gonna make a Lego game look as like beautiful as they can.
Well, they have it. It's supposed to be on the Switch. And it's supposed to be on like. Because they had it on like game. Because I go on GameStop.
It's supposed to be on everything current now.
Yeah, because I make like really weird impulsive old video game purchases. But,
yeah.
So I was like looking through and I like saw it one day and I was like, no way.
Well, also it's a PS3. Like you can get everything for pretty cheap.
It's awesome. Like
it is.
I feel these needs to play games, and like rather than go to the store and like figure out it's like $40 just because I want to play it like one time, it's like, hey, $5. I'm like, hey, it's just the ride pretty much.
I did that and I borrowed your PlayStation 3 for a little bit too.
What game was that?
It was Kingdom Hearts 2. I hadn't played it yet, and well now I own every single Kingdom Hearts game on my PS4, which I also own. I have in my room alone, I have a PS4, a Switch, and a gaming computer.
I'm just rocking that PS3.
So if you had any doubt in your mind that I wasn't a true gamer like my Instagram bio says, then you're wrong. Real gamer.
See, I get like I'll get into video games, and then I'll get like the desire to play will just like disappear. That's like the same. I feel like that happens. I actually feel like it might be like a issue, but it's like I'll have this desire to do something like read the book,
and then it'll fade out.
It's gone, and then like something else pops up. So it's like I'll stop reading the book, but I'll start playing video.
See, that's kind of where I struggled with the podcast. Was I was getting really good about releasing it for a while, and then I just stopped because the
motivation disappears.
But it also like depends on what was going on at the time, and what I think is funny is like there will be like if there's like sad stuff going on, I'll just be sad. But if there's something that like is like a mix between sad and angry, or just like something terrible happens, all I want to do is like go out and be creative.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that's why I've been trying to get a little bit more serious about the podcast, and like I bought a capture card so I can record stuff off my PlayStation and my Switch. It's just like all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So nice.
You gotta love it.
You really do.
I've been staring at that like yellow. I just really want to know what it is.
This? Oh my gosh.
Bear.
So this is a Hello Kitty product.
I feel like I've made more eye contact with
It's not even a bear. His name, I forget what his name is. He's a dog, and
are you sure?
Yeah, this is supposed to be a dog. This was a present from my ex.
Nice.
I just like him because he's really cute.
I mean, yeah.
I call him Toby, but I think his name is like Panporo or something.
What the heck?
I'm gonna look this up now because I'm interested.
That's okay. Speaking of like just looking up odd things, there was a video game, or not a video. It was like a
Hold
game
the Child
that you play. And my brother sent me a picture of it a couple days ago, but I really didn't have time to like dissect what he sent me. and it was some game, and I like looked at the Kickstarter on it on the internet today, and you ought to look into it. It's called Throw Burrito, I think.
Throw burrito.
It's a game that you can buy,
his
and
name?
it's like you try and make sets of 3, but like if you draw a certain card, then you have to stand up and chuck like a burrito at somebody.
His name, if I'm remembering right, is Pon Pon Purin.
What? Why do you have such an obscene name? He looks like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, it's Pom Pom Purin.
He's the squishy.
Look at this picture of him.
Oh my gosh. It looks beautiful. It's like what's his name? Oh, Pusheen.
Pusheen?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking
What
about?
are you talking
It's like
about?
that little thing Brandon had, like the little cat that he had on his bed, and we throw it around.
Oh my
the
gosh,
room.
Pusheen. Who was it? Someone had like a snake.
Snap.
Was it you? Someone had. We're gonna put Purin up there. He's gonna chill. I call him Toby.
People watch over us.
Toby is a less obscene. I would like to see the
I
child.
would like to see the child. But yeah, he
see
had
the child.
Pusheen, and I absolutely loved him because he made me really happy.
All I remember from Brandon is Horsey.
Horsey. Hey, he still does that.
I know he does.
sends
I
me-
love it so much.
He sends me videos like of him on the construction site every
Yeah.
single day, and it's really funny because I feel like he should not be doing the things.
I just think it's funny. He's been working on this like hospital project, and then he was like, he sent me a picture the other day, and he was like, "This is a morgue," and I was like,
Oh yeah, I saw that. And it's really gonna be funny because they'll probably never find it. But it's like if people were to go through and like that hospital ever got torn down, like a lot of years in the future,
they'd be
and
like
then-
looking through the
they're, like,
drywall.
looking
They'd
for
just be
things-
like, they'd
like,
take
what-
out a thing of
what's
drywall,
this?
and there's just a picture hanging in there, and it just says Horsey.
What does it mean? And then they're gonna turn it into something like super deep. Probably.
Oh, it's gonna be
Like, some
great.
deity that,
The
like,
ancient architects
in reality,
worshipped this creature,
It's some
simply named Horsey.
20-something-year-old lunatic just drawing poorly drawn horses everywhere.
I feel like a burp in the back of my throat, and I don't want to.
That's the worst. The worst. Okay, undoubtedly worst feeling ever. Like
I burped a lot and was gross in the podcast with William, and I'm just really trying to not to right now.
it's when you go into a classroom and your stomach's just like deciding to
Oh
make
my
that happen to
gosh.
me in my class on I think it was Wednesday. I think I told you about this, and I legitimately just like almost dropped out. Like I was like I can't do this because he's like really big on you can't like go to the bathroom or do anything. And usually all I have to do is like get a drink of water or something. And my stomach's just like, okay, yeah, you're fine. But it's like I'm sitting there in class and my stomach's making noise and it's like dead quiet. And I'm like, yep, it's time to never come back. And I'm like,
So unfortunately, I burned through a lot of the questions that I had with William.
unacceptable.
And as I said in his podcast, unfortunately, a lot of the questions that I was asked this time around were a lot of like just at me, not like general kind of questions.
Yeah.
One that I didn't answer last time was, what are the ambitions and intentions you have with your podcast? I don't like asking the way they ask that because it's like, what are your intentions with my daughter? Is it something you'll continue after high school? What inspired you to start one? I really do want to continue this after high school. Even though it'll be harder to come by the obviously the gear. Like that alone costs $180. These mics are $54.
I feel like there are places, especially they might have a place at your college.
Yeah, so like, what was it? Gus Johnson made a video and he was like, here's what I did. And he's a sketch comedy YouTuber. And he was like, you don't have to go out and buy a DSLR camera. You can just record junk on your phone. You can make sketches on your phone. And he was like, if you're in a college, they have recording equipment. You can go out and rent a DSLR camera, which it's just like a tiny video camera. And you can go record videos with even that.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, it's a free resource. It's like, you don't even, with the price point that you're paying for college, you don't even use half of the stuff that you have. So it's like, so I'll continue after high school. My intentions, I just plan on keeping on doing it, dude. I think it's a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. And I guess that's the most you can ask for. And what inspired me to start it? Well, I was on a really big podcast kick at the time. And then I went through a breakup and I was like, I have a lot of creativity.
Funnel creativity, everybody.
I'm going to make a podcast. And when I started making that podcast, I sat right there where the camera is in that desk chair over there with those headphones and a Discord call.
Nice.
And that was it. And they were awful. I think one of them is still up now. It's episode 2.
Oh yeah,
I deleted episode 1
I
because
started getting on the
someone asked me to.
them being on Spotify makes me very happy.
Yeah, I know. It makes me happy too. It's like it's one of those things where I never, to me, because when I first started looking at, but when I first started this, Anchor didn't exist.
I don't know what that is.
I'll explain Anchor in a second. Anchor didn't exist, so I would have had to pay for Spotify for artists, and because my podcast didn't go through like a publisher, I couldn't just upload them. I would have had to pay Spotify for every upload that I made, and it was like $7 for 2 uploads, like a year or something like that, which I was like, that can never happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of don't want to make a SoundCloud because SoundCloud's kind of like
Odd. Yeah.
trashy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just make it on YouTube and I'll upload on YouTube and that'll be that. And like, it'll never really go anywhere. So it's like, this podcast is purely for fun. If it catches on, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then like a month ago, like a month ago, my ex was like, hey, I know you're still doing your podcast. Check out this program. It's called Anchor. And I looked at it and it was like, hey, we'll upload your podcast for you to a whole bunch of different websites for free. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah. So I just made an account and like I'll upload an episode and it'll go on Anchor, which you can listen to stuff on Anchor there. On just Anchor. It goes on Spotify. Now it's on like Google Podcasts. It's like I can probably like look up right now everywhere where it's available. It's available on like 9 different platforms.
Everywhere.
It's crazy.
Gotta love it.
I don't know. I don't think I can actually check it on here.
See, I've never like done any of that kind of stuff, so I don't know anything about it. But squigglies.
Yeah, I
I
cannot.
remember what I used to.
I'd have to pull
used to
my
be on
laptop from somewhere.
Me and my friend used to make YouTube videos, and it was really tough. It was the cringiest thing. It was like videos of us playing with like Nerf guns. Like
Heck yeah, that's the dream.
That's where we were at.
That's the dream,
It
dude.
was so long ago.
I guess.
And they all got taken, unfortunately. I wish I could have gone back and like seen myself, but they were all deleted.
Baby Dylan.
Were eliminated.
Whoops, they were all deleted on
Oh,
accident.
no, definitely. Yeah, just talk with like a higher pitch voice and look much
younger, much more baby.
Chubbier, got the
Oh man,
big Dylan.
big Dylan
big
energy.
little
I think it's funny. You went from being like a chubby little dude to like being all lanky, and I've gone from being a lanky dude
it's
to
really weird.
kind of putting on some weight.
It's all bueno.
Really is.
Just be a river guide and get jacked.
Exactly. I think that's the goal.
It is. That's always. I told myself I'd do that, and then I didn't. I just became a river guide.
Well, also you have trash knees,
Check
so
one box. But yeah, being a river guide's cool enough. People think you're cool. They're like, "Oh, you're a river guide." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, that's super cool." They like picture you. They either picture you like
doing something really extreme.
either that, or they picture you like on the back of like a motorboat, like pointing out snakes on the side of a river. Like in the, I don't even know.
I mean, it's not really all that wrong.
They're
Instead
like-
of snakes, you're like, that right there is called decapitation
Yeah,
rock because it will quite literally decapitate
'Cause
you.
there have been people who called me like
I'm peeking the mic pretty bad.
tour
I'm
guide
sorry.
before, but I feel like it's like, if anything, I'm like a really sarcastic tour guide.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it all depends on how you want to make your personality as a
Oh
guide.
yeah, I
Because it's like,
had the best time ever.
I don't know if you really did this, but I feel like a lot of the river guides kind of like play a character when they're a guide.
Yeah,
And
like
it's-
what's the guy's name? Crazy Richard, like the Akoi guide.
No,
He's-
Crazy Richard's
He could just
he's
be that way.
he's
but,
crazy.
but like a lot of them would be kind of that way. But it was when I'm kind of just be myself.
I'm
Like
just thinking about Crazy Richard now.
you have to turn, like you have that filter where you're like, maybe I shouldn't bring up this really stupid thought, but like you just turn that off and like just say things to the kids and they love it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just can't be inappropriate, but if it's
Yeah.
on your mind, it like has no value at all whatsoever. You still say it. And
You'll just be sitting there and you'll be like, my feet have turned into popsicles. And the
Exactly.
kids are like,
like say where you just have to put words to everything you do. Oh, and I like me, I make
hey,
noises.
that's not far from being a YouTuber.
Yeah. Like I make noises with every single motion I make.
Maybe-
so, like, that kind of just
Maybe
works
being a
like
river
that.
guide this summer will help me be better with.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I believe it.
You get really comfortable with people on your boat because believe it or not, you're in charge of them. And they think you know things. That's the best part. Some people see right through it. They're like, this kid doesn't know anything. He's just in charge.
Barely skating by.
But it's like on the back of that boat, and you just pretend you know how to guide the river.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe that's the move.
We're gonna be fine. We're gonna river guiding 10 out of 10 would recommend.
So yeah, back to the original question I had. Do you have any like dumb river stories or just like in general?
I'm trying to think, like river stories, not necessarily. Just one of my favorite things to do on the river. I take a line that is less favorable among the other guides who come from Woodruff for whatever reason, and I just absolutely love it. But there is kind of some weird consequences that come along with it. So like anytime I'd ever lose somebody on the falls, it was because I take a line. You can either take the left line and go down, and it's kind of like a chute.
Lines are basically like pathways through certain rapids.
Yeah. So
like heavier rapids will have like specific lines that you're supposed to take.
Let me paint you a word picture. Okay, you're going down the river, you get to the falls. It's really, they say it's the falls, and it's like, it's something like obscene. It's like 20 something feet, but like in reality, like you can say that.
Oh, so it's like in elevation, you drop like 20 feet, but it's super long.
It's over time. So it's like not just a straight up 20-foot drop. We would definitely die.
No, the camp would not be allowed to do that.
No. So pretty much on the right side, you got this giant rock you want to avoid because that rock will ruin your day. On the
big
left
rock
side
equals big no.
You have like kind of just this weird chute. That's the line a lot of people take. I don't know if the actual river guides take it. They might favor my line sometimes too, but it really just depends because they know the river a lot better than we do.
Yeah.
They know how to make it a good time.
Yeah.
But I always gravitated. I'd push as far as I could towards that like rock on the right side, and I'd go down. And rather than it being like just a quick, smooth little like ride down the chute, you'd go down and you'd hit two massive holes that would essentially fold your boat in half when you go into them. So 100% of the time, if I lost a kid in the falls, it was because we'd hit that second hole.
And your boat would just go.
The boat would like fold a little bit, and then the kid in the middle would not be there anymore.
We got another notification.
He would just be in like the water far away from you, and it was pretty hilarious. They'd teleport out of the boat. It was awesome, but I didn't really. If anything, like the weirdest thing was just like the organization part of it, and the day like a bus broke down and whatnot. What's the question?
Okay, so this is from someone I know exactly why he's asking it. Howdy, it's Jeremiah from Woodruff from a couple years back. I worked with him in shooting sports. He was rifle, the shorter like round guy. Anyways, what are your thoughts on the Army's pilot drone program?
Oh man,
which he is a part of.
I absolutely hate politics.
So Jeremiah, if you're listening, all those years on COD will have been worth it, baby.
I'm gonna say, if you want to be honest, I don't know anything.
I don't have anything to say. All I know is today, at the time of recording this, we finally got the Space Force logo. So I'll see you out there, brother.
Oh my god.
Yeah. If I'm going to space and I can't do it because I'm not a scientist, I'm gonna do it for being a rock.
Are you actively trying to go to space? Like, is that
oh my gosh, it's not. I'm not actively trying to do it, but if someone was ever like, hey,
like
if someone was ever like, hey, do you want to quit your year? Do you want to quit your life for a year and go through all the trainings to go to space for a month, or like whatever? If someone like approached me and they were like, do you want to do a year of training just to spend a weekend in space? I would say yes.
Oh.
In a heartbeat.
See, I feel like everybody, like people keep talking to me and they're like, do you want to go to space and whatnot? And I'm like,
oh shoot, the tripod bag. Thank you for bringing that in, William. William, do you want to say anything? You were just on the podcast last week. Do you want to say anything this week?
You weren't cool though. Are you going to work?
I mean, it's a week for the listeners, but for you, it's been a couple hours. What do you want to say from the past?
Kanye 2020.
Dang.
Kanye 2020, baby.
That's this year.
I mean, he pushed it back to 2024 because he doesn't want to run against his best friend, but
Kanye for president.
Dude.
Who's his best friend?
Kanye president, Trump running mate. Let's do it.
You can't do that, can you?
No,
You're in Gov.
No, you can.
I'm not in Gov anymore. Trump can. I'm in econ.
No.
Oh, yeah.
You can be the vice president
I don't
and
think
then go for 2 terms as president.
Yes, but you can't do it the other way.
No, I think you can.
No, you can.
I don't think so.
No, you can.
I
So there's not
I don't
really.
know if you can, because what What if something happened to Kanye?
If something happened to so here's what happens.
What if something happened to
So
Kanye?
because you were right, I was in econ, or I was in gov. So there is actually a limit of 10 years
Yes.
on being president. You can serve 2 terms, and you can go be vice president, but if something happens to your president, you will take his place for 2 years.
Yeah.
Comment if Calvin's correct.
I am correct.
I feel like that would never happen though. Just like, how do you even get yourself in the position where you're like the president, and then all of a sudden you're like, I might as well just go for the assistant this time.
I
like,
mean, isn't that what
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt did? Or
I'm not-
didn't he?
Don't
like, he
ask me.
just-
I'm not that well versed on that history.
I'm pretty sure he just ruled America for 8 years. Didn't he like go over to?
Who was it that got like 3 terms, but in
I
his
think it was him. I think
no, someone was it? Who was it? FDR was, but he like died of polio.
Wait, who are we talking about?
FDR.
Franklin Delano
No,
Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, okay.
Teddy
It's
Roosevelt
not. It's not
wilded-
Delano, is
It's
it?
all the same.
Teddy
I don't know.
Roosevelt just wandered into the White House from the wilderness and said, "This is mine."
I own this, and then the whole
belongs
country
to
was
me.
like, yeah, I guess.
Seems good to me.
I'm not brave enough for politics though, so
Neither am I.
Have fun, guys.
also
thank you,
Don't
William.
know anything about it. Like, pretty fun fact. You
I
don't-
took a gov class,
You
but I
don't
still know
need to
nothing.
get a 4 on the gov exam.
Oh man, now Jeremiah is texting me, probably just to make sure that I got his question. Oh man, he's asking me what's my podcast called and where can I find it?
Oh boy. What a
man.
move.
For real.
It's
So-
gonna take a while for it to
yeah,
come
it
out,
is.
though,
It's
yeah.
gonna take a couple weeks. It's gonna take like a week, but for you guys, it'll just be out like now.
Cannot believe it.
I'm gonna text him, so I'm gonna put my mic down.
You're so cool. Having friends to text and stuff.
I don't have friends.
But do you text or do you Snapchat? What's your preference, bud? Oh, I realized you didn't have a mic.
It
right?
depends.
Like,
So it's weird. Like I'll go through phases with people of like sometimes like with you. Sometimes everything I do is through text,
oh yeah.
and sometimes everything I do is through Snapchat.
I feel like it depends on the.
But like with certain people, it depends on which they respond to faster.
Yes.
Like with like Jared and Nick, I'll Snapchat them. I'll probably just Snapchat upset to society.
Nick's always a Snapchat.
And it's like with I don't want to use her actual name because I don't. What's a fake name that I can use? I'll call her Heinz Ketchup.
First thing on your head, no big deal.
Yeah, I'll show you the contact. So with my friend Heinz Ketchup, she would never like respond to
I would've
text
said
messages.
Barbecue sauce.
He would have said barbecue. Never mind, you're right. Barbecue sauce. So with my friend Barbecue Sauce, she would never respond to text messages that fast, but she would respond to Snapchats like instantly. So I would always just Snapchat her. But then recently she deleted her Snapchat. So everything I have to do is through text. So like I'll text her a couple days ago, I texted her hey at like 8 a.m, and she didn't respond until like 9 p.m. when I was getting off work. And
Got
she
him.
was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh, I just wanted to know what was up. I just wanted to talk. And then
Yeah.
she was like, well, I have a McFlurry right now, so things are
Ooh.
pretty lit.
Ooh.
And then I was like, oh, it's 9 o'clock at night. And now that you said it, I want a McFlurry, but I know they won't give me one because they don't want to clean out the ice cream machine again.
I haven't had a McFlurry in
In so long, dude.
like 10 years. If you want to be honest, we don't get ice cream from McDonald's. I feel like I'd get a milkshake first.
Yeah.
I'd never get a McFlurry.
Where? Okay, so your first choice to get a milkshake from fast food, where do you go?
Okay, so immediately I'm thinking Chick-fil-A because
Really?
they have that peppermint like chocolate. I still haven't gotten
Oh
it,
man.
but I really
Is that no seasonal flavors?
no seasonal.
No
flavors?
seasonal flavors. What's your number one pick? Just off of like the chocolate vanilla.
On it. I'm a strawberry person.
Okay, so chocolate vanilla
Honestly,
strawberry because I know a
I
lot of
f-
places do
I
that.
feel like I'd go to. I'm thinking of Checkers.
Checkers.
They have like, but they
I-
also have that quality where it's like if you have a certain amount of it, it starts to burn your mouth. Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I
It's
do,
that
I do.
really weird- Yeah.
My number one pick is actually Wendy's
Wendy.
because I don't.
I feel like
To-
I get
to
a
me-
Frosty if I go to Wendy's.
Well,
That's the
it's
thing.
basically a milkshake. I know
It's just a harder milkshake.
it's a thicker milkshake. So like my thing is that like Culver's is just it's too thick, and it's also like custard, which isn't
Yes.
ice cream. And then like so I don't really like Culver's. And then to me, Chick-fil-A milkshakes is just like it's just ice cream
It's
to me.
nice, though.
It's good, but to me it's like it's just ice cream. And then like so if you said you can't go to Wendy's, I would probably go to McDonald's after that.
See, I've been riding that smoothie wave recently.
Smoothies?
You go to tropical smoothie cafe.
Strawberry smoothies. Oh my god.
You get the peaches and silk.
Oh my god. So there was one time I'm kind of going to sell this person out, but I'm not going to name them. I have a friend, we'll call her Burger King, and she works at Burger King. And I rolled up and I was like, "Hey, I want this." And she was like, "Can I get the name for the order?" And I was like, "It's Calvin." And then she was like, "Calvin Holton?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And she was like, "Oh my gosh." And I knew it was her. So then I went and I got the order, and she like gave me the bag of food and stuff. And then she really loudly went, "Oh sir, I'm sorry. I forgot to put that on your order. Oh no." And then she went over and she made me this like strawberry lemonade slushy. And then I was like, "Oh my gosh, Burger King came in so clutch." Oh, I just said her name. I have to edit that out now.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
You really hate to see it.
So then she like handed it to me, and it was
so
awesome.
caught.
And then I went a while back. I went there and I was like, "Can I get this burger?" And it was a seasonal burger, and they were like, "No, we don't have it." And then I was like, "No, I wanted a milkshake." I was like, "Can I get a milkshake?" And then they were like,
"What the hell is a seasonal burger?" What the?
"No, like a special."
The
special.
McRib.
The McRib. So I was like, "Can I get a milkshake?" And they were like, "Sorry, our milkshake machine is like," they actually had a guy in working on it. And then I was like, "Oh, can I get that strawberry lemonade slushy?" And then she was like, "We don't have those anymore."
Oh man.
And then I was like, "Just give me a Hershey's pie."
Wait, the biggest move though, and I still miss it. And we're coming up on March. I think you know what I'm about to talk about. It's the lie that is the Shamrock.
Oh my
Shake.
gosh, dude! It's not the Shamrock Shake. It is the Shrek.
No,
the Shrek's shake that they had to promote Shrek the Third. It's that.
So-
I don't know what they called it back then, but that's what it is.
There has been a study done by me and no one else.
I'm gonna
because no one believes me.
Turn the camera around because
Oh, okay.
whenever I address the camera, I always look at the
There's been
window.
a study done by me and no one else on earth that the Shamrock Shake
So you know it's reliable.
is for sure. It's definitely just a marketing ploy and it's not a real thing. And that's just the truth. There's no such thing. Did I ever tell you about this?
No.
Okay, so last year I love Shamrock Shakes, like out of my mind.
Okay,
Absolutely
so
love them.
if you're saying that they're fake, but you're also saying that you love them.
I love them. Now, 2 years ago, I got them all the time. This last year, I went to go get one, and I got to McDonald's, and they're like, "We don't have it." And I was like,
What?
"Oh, that sucks." But
I have a,
with that said, I'm in the drive-through, like I'm trapped, so I'm still getting a milkshake. Like,
Yeah.
I'm getting something from McDonald's.
but it's not what you wanted, so it's not going to taste as good.
But I'm still spending money. So like
Yeah.
I'm getting something there. So this happens like probably 2 or 3 times. At this point I'm like, okay, I should like it happened at home and then it happened an hour away in St. Pete. So I was
Oh my
like,
gosh.
I'm gonna get something. There's a way to find them. So they have an app dedicated to this. The app didn't work. The app made no sense on
to
my phone.
finding a Shamrock Shake?
Yeah, I kid you not.
Oh my
You can look
God.
at, it's called Find a Shamrock Shake, I think.
Holy shit, I'm going to find it
I don't know
right
if
now.
it's a thing right now, but look in March.
I'm going to find it. I'm
so
gonna do it.
you could go through and you can like find the McDonald's that have them because some of them just don't do it.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't find them anywhere. Like I went to like 3 or 4 McDonald's here, and then I went to like 1 or 2 up in St. Pete and Tampa because I'm up there all the time. So finally, I'm like on the verge of I don't think they're like a thing this year. So I start to look into the internet. They're like, yeah, they're still a thing. They are bad. Did you find it?
Shamrock Shake Finder.
Yes. Okay. So it's like a real
It has
thing.
2.7 stars.
It's awful. So like finally, this is during December. No, not December because it would be during March. This is when I went up to go to Georgia for like the director's meeting or something. I got up to Georgia and I was telling this story to my friends at like the campfire, and they're like, "You're just straight up wrong, Dylan. Like you're absolutely insane." And I'm like pitching this to them. I'm like, "No, trust me." But they still get me every time because I go through the drive-through and I still end up getting something. So I'm still spending money at this establishment, even though they don't have the one thing I go there for. And then I get to the one in Georgia, and Josh is like, "Trust me." So he goes inside. He said, "Hey, can I get a Shamrock Shake?" The lady at the counter had no idea what she was talking, like no idea what Josh was talking about. And then he came to the car and he had a cup in his hand. I stayed in the car. He had a cup in his hand, and I was like, "Oh my God, he got one." And he gets in the car, and it wasn't a Shamrock Shake. I was like, did they have them? And he was like, no. So I got a McFlurry. And I was like, you just fell for the same exact trap they've gotten me for the past 10 times I've been to McDonald's. So they just straight up, I'm so convinced they're not real, but they're still getting me to spend money there. So it's definitely just a marketing trap, at least in Florida, at least.
So all of the reviews are just like, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't
Yes.
work. One of my favorites is I have to find it again. So everyone just calling it garbage.
It's
Connection
such a
error, doesn't
lie.
work. What happened? I read one that was like, here's one. March is my birthday month as well, and no Shamrock Shakes anywhere in Texas. Why McDonald's? That was my favorite shake ever.
I swear they're fake. People are beginning to realize.
Doesn't work. Sent to a residential neighborhood. And then the developer responded with, in 2019, we now have 100% real locations. Good luck finding your shake. The review was left February 22nd, 2018, and they waited until 2019 to respond to him, and they were like, yeah, now we have 100% real locations. Last time we were just using fake ones.
I will be the spark that lights the fire. I swear to God, McDonald's will never get away with this.
Oh man.
It's
Oh man.
all a
Do you
lie.
remember? So you had a similar situation before. One time I went to McDonald's and they had this like bacon burger and I had it and it was awesome. And I told you
I know
about
exactly what
it
you're
and you
talking
went to
about.
like 5 different McDonald's and you couldn't
They
find
stopped
one.
making it as soon as you told me. Like
No,
probably
you
the-
found one. You got one.
I found one, and it was like in the most out of nowhere.
it was
location in
like
Florida.
you were on the road to camp.
Yes.
You were going up to camp for the summer and you were like, "Do you guys have this burger?" And they were like, "Yeah, it's the last one."
They told me, you told me about it. It was the Bacon Clubhouse. I still know what it's called. I think about it in my dreams. It's like a burger, but with bacon and like, I think it has onions on it and then Big Mac sauce. That's the seller right there.
Yeah.
And no bread.
Thousand Island dressing, you mean?
No like bread in the middle. And it has a quarter pounder patty, which is just far superior. So,
So you know how you can make that at home? So like now you can
yeah.
get bacon on their burgers, so you get it, and then you just take it home and you take your bottle of Thousand Island dressing that you've had for like 7 years
oh my
and
God.
you just pour it on
we
that.
finally threw it away. It
No.
was nasty. But I think I showed you the picture. It was pretty
Do you
bad.
still have the picture?
I think Ryan has it.
Oh my gosh, I need that picture.
Yeah, I'll have him send it to you.
I'll
But
put it up in the podcast.
it was just, it blew my mind because I started looking into it and then I like legit went on the website and they still had it, and then like a week later it was off the website and I was like, he told me about this the second they stopped making these, and I
I
like
know.
just asked out of
What
curiosity.
I think is
on the way
wild
up.
is like I got it. You know the McDonald's on the bypass?
Yeah.
That's where I got mine.
Yes.
And then you went there like a day after
Yeah.
to get it, and they were like, "We've
Honestly,
never had those."
I swear they just have a picture of my face on the wall and they're like, whenever he comes in, whatever he asks for, tell him we don't have
They
it.
don't have
Because
it.
he'll still get
McDonald's
something.
is just a company that's out to get
I
Dylan.
swear I did something one day.
He did something one day and he just ruined it.
I like came in and spilled a soda. And they were like, yep. Never
Yep, nope, we're never serving to that guy
No
again.
fly list.
Oh man. Yes.
Absolutely.
And you know, did you see the post? It was like,
Yeah.
United Airlines is having a class below economy.
Just duct tape you to the side.
Broke as fuck, now boarding broke as
Honestly,
fuck.
That's just the entirety of Spirit Airlines.
Oh man. Do you remember Silver Airlines?
Is that where we took to go to?
That's what we took to go down to the Bahamas,
Yeah.
baby.
Spirit
Oh, man.
Airlines is.
I've
sketchy as
I've
fuck.
never shared this story. Isn't Spirit Airlines the one where they like you sit up in the cockpit with them?
No, Spirit Airlines is like they have daily flights to Atlanta Air. That's the only reason I know about it. They have
Okay.
daily flights to Atlanta Airport for like $30, but like a
Oh,
bag
okay.
is like $80.
Oh yeah, that's where they get you. So it has to be all carry on.
Yes.
Is the carry on $80
No,
or
you
is
can
it
get
just
you can get
luggage?
a personal item for free. I think it's not $80. Like if you get a
But it's like it's a huge amount.
carry on is like 45, and then a checked bag is like 40 or 30, which makes no sense.
That's-
to me,
yeah,
'cause
that's
I feel
ex-
like that's harder for them. But I feel like-
Yeah.
I feel like a carry on.
But I feel like if you have the checked bag, it's like it's a lot easier to lose your
yeah.
luggage. So like
I guess
you kind of have to
it
evaluate.
just keeps. They don't have to deal with like the storage deals with it. It's not like up in like the whatever the heck's.
So
It's-
I want to share a flight story, and I know you were there for this,
Yes.
but we'll just share it because it's a podcast. 2 summers ago now, Dylan and I went down to the Bahamas, and we took this airline called like Silver Airlines or something.
it's Some garbage airline.
Yeah. Well, the seats were, I think, refurbished from like World War II museums. And the plane had propellers on it. So the plane kind of just like vibrated the whole time we were on it. And it was like all gray and like industrial inside. You know, we get to the Bahamas, we're fine, whatever. We go on our trip. Well, we go to the Bahamas like international airport or whatever. And we go through all the lines and stuff. And the terminal is just 3 doors and a big old lobby. And that's it. So we're sitting there. We got there so early. It was crazy. We sat there all day. And then literally 5 minutes before our plane was supposed to land, it starts pouring down rain right on top of Marsh Harbor, Marsh Harbor? Something like that. It starts
Big
pouring rain right on top of Marsh Harbor. And our plane wasn't able to land. So we're standing there, and my dad starts talking to the guy. And the guy's like, yeah, the plane didn't land here. It had to go to this. It had to go to this other island. And then my dad's like talking to this guy, and they start making a plan. And like some of us were going to take a plane super late in the night, and it was going to fly straight to Fort Lauderdale where we had to go. And some people were going to take this plane that was like, it was going to go up to Sarasota. No, it was going to go like up to Tampa. Mm-hmm. And then they were going to have to catch a connecting flight and head back down to Fort Lauderdale. But we would have ended up getting there at the same time. And we were going to split up into 2 spots. Well, then my dad was like, wait a minute. If the plane landed at the other airport, who all was supposed to be on it? And then they looked at it and they were like, oh, there's only supposed to be like 32 passengers. And my dad was like, there's 32 of us that are supposed to be on that plane. And then he was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then my dad was like, so can we just go to the other airport and take the plane we were supposed to? And he was like, yeah, I guess you could. I'll call him and tell him to hold it. And then my dad was like, okay, how are we going to get there? And the guy was like, well, you guys can take a taxi. And then my dad was like, you guys are going to pay for the taxi, right? And they were like, well, no, you guys can pay for that. And then my dad was, my dad was like, so you're telling me, so this is when my dad started to get mad.
This is take the earbud out of the ear. Like,
everyone was like,
hold up.
It was like, so you're telling me that we're the only people on the plane. It's on a different island and it's sitting there waiting just to fly back to Florida. And you aren't going to pay a taxi fare for us to go there. The only people that are supposed to be on the plane. Now, does it make sense to send an empty plane back to Florida? And the guy stood there and he was like, sir, give me a second.
Perhaps.
And he like called the other airport, and they like connected him to like Silver Airlines or whatever. And they were like, we have your taxis paid for. You're heading out right now.
Grab your bag.
Grab your bags. You're going right now.
What an all-expensive big trip to the other side of the island.
To the other island. So we're like in the car. We get in these taxis and we're in them for like 45 minutes. We're driving down the road and we're like in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere, Bahamas. And there's just trees all over the place. And we just see this house. And we're like, this is the first building we've seen in forever. And there's a big open field behind it. And I'm like, you're kidding.
Doing the math.
And then we pull into the house,
like,
and I'm just like, you're kidding.
Like our high school like buildings are probably at least 4 times like, or not even like Laurel Nokomis buildings.
Over 4 times the size. So we're literally pulling into someone's driveway, and the lady that was driving our car was like, yeah, you guys are here at the airport, and my dad was like, huh? And then she was like, yeah, this is the airport. And then your dad was in the car with me, and your dad was like, huh?
There's always something on the high adventure.
So we got out of the car and everything. We literally walk in, and I mean, like, it is straight up. It was like maybe from that wall, and like it was 2 of these rooms across, and the security check was just like, do you have any pointy things in your bag? No? Okay, get on the plane. And then we got on the plane and we flew home.
That part of it is what really blew my mind, because they didn't.
There was no metal detectors. They didn't even pat us down.
He like unzipped like a bag or 2,
and he just took his hand and he was like,
didn't do anything. He was like, closed it. And it's like, we're not terrorists or anything. But, like, he didn't know
we're just a bunch of Boy Scouts.
Like it's Because I get like anxiety when I go through security places. Like I don't know. If
Why?
You, like is that not a thing with you? That's
No.
like a huge thing. Like if I go into a
What
bank,
is?
or if I go through like security at an airport, like I know I'm not like.
I only have one thing that I was kind of like stressed about.
Yeah, this
with going
happens
to a
me
bank.
all the, like I was at the bank today, and I'm like at the bank.
Turn your mic around.
Is it hello?
Yeah,
I'm
there you
like,
go.
I'm like at the bank today, and I'm sitting there, like low key, like I get sweaty, and I'm like, I feel really uncomfortable, and I'm like, I know I'm not about to rob this bank, but like maybe they don't know that, and I'm like, I don't know, like I don't know, and it's the same thing with airport security. Like I always get super nervous.
What if I accidentally become a
I get
terrorist in
super
30
nervous
seconds?
going through like the like whatever the heck detector, and it's like I know I'm not carrying like a knife or a gun or anything, but
Yeah.
like, if anything there might be like a coin in my pocket, but it's like I just sit there and freak out, and I'm like, what if I am, like what if I I'm like, it makes
what if I
no
suddenly
sense.
become a terrorist? What if I,
I thought
just
that was a thing for everybody.
What if I just like create a bomb in my bag
You
on
like go to
accident?
the airport and then all of a
What if I
sudden,
accidentally have more than 3 fluid ounces of shampoo packed?
that is
Frick.
a felony right there.
That is for real.
Unacceptable behavior.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude.
But yeah, I thought that was a thing with everybody. Now I feel really weird.
No,
Well,
at least maybe other people, but not me. I'm just like,
let Calvin know if you have this fear.
yeah, I guess let me know
I
if
guess we
you
can go to therapy
if you get
together, I
worried
guess.
about this.
Can
Do you spontaneously think you might turn into a terrorist when going through security checks?
Maybe, like, honestly, I'm gonna be like the NSA watch list after. Like, they're listening to us right now. They're
Well,
like,
it's like, I
do you have
mean,
one of
I'm,
those Google things.
I'm pretty.
Can I wake them up? Can I?
Hey Google,
I hate those.
flip a coin.
It's gonna be tails. Heck, it makes a noise for the coin flip though.
Yeah.
I
Hey
really wasn't ready
Google,
for that.
set volume to 100%. Hey Google, roll 3 d6s.
You got 2, 4, and 2. That makes 8.
What the heck? That's the weirdest thing ever.
Hey Google, draw a card.
Here's the definition of drawing card. Informal.
It's not.
Quality or feature that evokes
Oh.
interest or liking
Well,
and
that's
attraction.
come on, man. You
Yeah,
know better
okay.
than that.
Let me try this again. Hey Google, pick a card.
Joker.
Okay,
Ah,
how
shoot.
many cards are in the deck?
There is 52. Why don't we ask Google? Hey Google,
Oh, I know.
how many
but,
cards are in a deck?
Like, is that something you
52
don't?
cards.
Did you know
On
that?
the
Yeah.
website BoardGameGeek.com, they say, a standard deck of playing cards consists of 52 cards in each of the 4 suits of spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs.
I don't know, like if
To find out more, look
Jesus
for the link
Christ.
in your Google Home
Okay.
Google
Thank you.
Assistant
Thank you,
app.
Google. That's enough.
I don't know if like being in scouts we know a bunch about cards just because we play with them a bunch. But I was in my college stat class and they had to specify, like they had to go over cards.
Really?
People didn't know
Really?
there were 52. They didn't
I
know
think
the 4 suits.
I think maybe it is a scout thing that
Yeah.
like, because even when I did stat in high school in Miss Lucas's class, it was still like we had to go over, hey, there's 52
That-
cards and there's like however many of each suit.
And they, because people like didn't know, they're like, I don't know what that is. They didn't know the suits. They didn't know how many were in a deck. And I'm like sitting there, and I was like, I really like maybe I just took that for granted.
There's what? There's
That's like knowing how to
ace, 2,
swim
3,
if you're in
4,
Florida
5, 6,
compared to
7, 8, 9,
Kansas.
10.
Like
Jack.
13, isn't it?
13? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm dude.
college stat. But yeah, it was just one of those weird things I thought everybody knew. And,
Yeah, I know. Definitely. Like, you talking about like just knowing how to swim. It's like working at the waterfront.
oh yeah.
Yeah, just classes of teaching kids that are like 11 and up how to swim. We've
And
had
it's-
17-year-olds come in and like
Like,
try to learn how to swim, but Bryce Breakin just knows how to
Yeah.
teach kids how to swim.
and it's one of those. I always thought that was something like a lot of people could do, but we live right next to the water. Like if you
Yeah,
live in
exactly.
inner Georgia or something, or like if you live in inner Florida, even like you're probably not surrounded by water. Like
Yeah, it's like, but also I don't understand how it's just like, what if you live in Wisconsin and there's no water like around you for miles? Do you ever just get like scared? Do you ever just spontaneously get scared about drowning in the middle of Wisconsin?
I feel like that's not.
I feel like swimming is a life skill that everyone should know how to do.
That was another.
What if you're in Wisconsin and you're working in the liquid cheese factory and you fall into a vat of cheese and you don't know how to swim through the cheese?
You just drink it, like drink it all. Well,
Yeah, I forgot. It's
I
Wisconsin.
suppose that's drowning. Well, okay,
Yeah,
so
I suppose that's drowning.
it's okay if you. No, it's not. It's So it's eating if I drink the cheese, but if I drink the water, it's drowning.
It's
correct?
like
So if I drink
what is consuming soup? Are you drinking it or are you eating it?
cereal's a soup.
Yeah, but that wasn't
Unpopular
the
opinion.
question. That wasn't the question.
I just wanted to let you know, but yeah, that's the other thing my friend brought up. I don't know if this is like a real thing, but somebody said beach towel. She goes to college like Purdue or something. They said beach towel, and somebody was
Yeah.
confused because I guess if you live in like Kansas or Ohio, beaches aren't as common. So it's like just a towel.
Of course they aren't.
So was that just a towel?
Well, I feel like it would be called.
Like,
it should be
do they
called
have-
a pool towel.
Do they have different words? Yeah, I was gonna say, do they have different words for towels?
Well, it's like I still call. So like we have the regular towels that you
Yes.
keep in the house,
Yeah,
and then you have
and then beach towel.
then you have the other towels.
Yeah.
So, but for me, for my family at least, because I grew up, as you know, I grew up in Georgia
Yeah.
for 5 years. We did have a beach there. It was just like sand in front of a lake. So it's like depending on where we were going. So like if we were visiting down in Florida, they were like, "Oh, make sure you bring your beach towel."
Yeah.
So we go down to Florida, we go to our timeshare. But if we wanted to go to the timeshare pool, make sure you bring your pool towel.
Aren't they the same?
Yeah, it's the same thing, but depending on where we would go, we would change what it was called.
What the heck?
And
So it's just a locationary towel. Bring your
Yeah.
camper towel. Bring your
bring your waterfront towel.
Bring your. That's just a towel that you're like okay with being completely orange at the end of the week.
Yeah,
What
for me,
color?
it's just our regular towel.
Yeah, it's-
Like when I go to camp, I don't bring any. The only like beach towel I'll bring to camp is I have this Lightning McQueen towel that a scout gave me my
Yes.
first year because I was in my cycling class, which I was a CIT teaching a cycling class
Oh, yeah.
by myself,
Solid
which was
boots.
wild because I had taken that merit badge the week before, and field sports had
All the-
2 people in
all
it.
the experience you need. It's all-
Exactly. For real.
They think we're so official. They're like,
No.
oh, he's been studying biking his whole life. It's like, I learned how to do it yesterday. It's
Yeah.
like,
That was my favorite thing to tell my scouts. Well, one of the scouts in my class like made a joke and was like, "All hail our Lord and Savior, Lightning McQueen, ka-chow." And then the whole class started saying it. And apparently overnight it spread across camp like a wildfire.
yes.
And then at the campfire, one of them came up to me and like said it. And I was like, "Oh, bye guys, I'm going to miss you." And then we both ended by saying that. And then Kasha, who was also working in the trading post, turns around and was like, "What the fuck was that?" And I was like, "Oh, it was just a joke that my class came up with." And she was like, "Kids have not stopped saying that
Oh my gosh.
since Tuesday."
Thing that's been haunted.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I created?"
You hate to see it.
Oh no, you love to see it, dude. That was like my greatest accomplishment
Depends on who you are.
at that point
Not
in
if
my
you're
life.
Kasha.
Not if you clearly not if you're Kasha.
If you're Kasha, then it's just the worst thing ever.
Yeah, but now she works for NASA now, so I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure she's engaged.
I don't think she works for NASA. She is engaged.
That's why.
I still follow her on Instagram.
So do I. Kasia.
And neither of us are. We both follow her on Instagram, but neither of us really know what's going on.
Well, we don't talk or anything.
I know.
just
I
follow
mean,
her.
my friend Mara like lives in France and then came for one summer and then just went back to France again. So
That's weird.
it is.
That's like Elise. Elise is over there too. Instagram's a wild place. I had
Instagram is
I had a conversation with somebody. I don't think Snapchat's necessarily social media. I guess it is
It is a private messaging app.
essentially. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they were like.
You keep pushing the table over
Do I?
towards me.
I'm really
Yeah.
bad about that. Honestly, I'm really proud of myself because I feel like I haven't been like shaking.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really usually super bad about that.
I think it's because you get to fiddle with the microphone.
Oh yeah, I'm just messing.
Maybe that's what it is.
Always doing something.
I don't want to sit back because I know I'll get out of frame.
I'm up to no good.
But I gotta rest my back a
How
little
can
bit.
you tell? There is no
Because
frame.
I'm just that good.
The frame is endless. We live in. They're gonna.
We
put
live in
on-
a frameless
They're
society.
gonna put on their like three. You mean to tell me this isn't hooked up to 360?
Jesus Christ,
They're
I'm
not
so
seeing
sorry,
through
dude.
our eyes.
God damn it.
You didn't tell me I was coming on some second class. podcast.
Dylan, do you see where we are right now?
Come on.
We are
man.
in my bedroom.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Oh, who would have thought?
Would have thought we'd. the
The Paul Rudd doing the hot ones with himself. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Not me. Not me. Paul Rudd is a funny guy.
It really is.
It's not Ant-Man. It's just Paul Rudd.
Hashtag Paul Rudd.
Hashtag Paul Rudd. Oh man.
I'm still not gotten used to hearing myself. Do
Really?
it,
Yeah, it's kind of
so
it's
weird.
wild. But it's
absolutely
like
insane.
so it's like even through the microphones you're still a little bit muted. So like if you take off the headphones,
Oh my god,
yeah, it's a different world.
that's wild.
It is wild.
Could you imagine being somebody who like wears one on and off the entire time, like a radio show? host or
No, oh
something?
my wait, I'm gonna try that out. Oh my god, I don't like that.
Yeah,
They either both have to be on or both have to be off.
Oh
There's
my
no in
God.
between.
unacceptable.
Truly.
I always wear just one earbud if I'm in the car or something because I need to hear my dad.
I
It'd
don't.
kill me.
I will put both earbuds in and I will just fall asleep in the car.
Unreal. I did that on the bus though because the bus is a nightmare.
Yeah, and the
But-
bus is also like
I also so I'll leave my earbud out sometimes just because like 95% of the time my dad will be talking like trash about me, and I need to hear it. Like he thinks I can't. So, like you know what I mean though. They're-
one ear open, baby.
They're always talking about us.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's not
Always,
the same. And
always.
we're in the same car. It's
Oh my
like come on,
goodness.
man. It's like but
Man.
it's
Yeah.
insane.
Now for this segment of the podcast, Dylan is just
I'm
going
gonna
to fiddle with the
blow
microphone.
Blow into the microphone like a toddler. I could never be like famous because if I ever had to deal with microphones, you're like on some show just like actively trying to swallow a microphone.
You're like looking. You're
Wanna
like
hear what the
you're on late
inside of
night
my
TV.
body smells
So, you know, like the late night TV hosts have like the microphone all the way over here on the desk.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be like,
Oh,
you're gonna be like leaning into it, and you're gonna be looking up, and I'm like,
How can I take your order?
yeah. So this is what happened.
Let me explain. I'm in.
This is what happened when
It's like I'm going to.
I'm a professional ultimate frisbeer now.
Oh yeah, big facts.
Ultimate frisbee.
See, that's what's nice about ultimate frisbee.
Oh, I got text.
Even if I got really big about it, like it's still so super unofficial that like it would just thrive with the kind of personality I have. Like it wouldn't be that weird. It would just be normal in that community. It would just be
In what?
like if I ever took off an ultimate, just like hypothetically,
Oh yeah, you would be normal.
like it would like my awkwardness on camera and just like doing weird things would even out with everybody else. I feel like just because we all high key have no idea what we're doing. It's like
If the sport just
never
this-
be in this position.
the sport
Like,
just kind of happened on
we,
accident.
like came out to go play this sport like one day in PE and then we just got really good at it. It's like, whoa, I start taking this seriously.
Wait a minute. And it's like even the people that play it professionally, it's like the way that it pays, it's still kind of like
Yeah.
just a hobby.
It's and that I was explaining it to people in my lit class. We had like
Mhm.
a group project and I said I like play ultimate frisbee and somebody actually got like super into it and I was like, no way, really? Like, why do you care about that? And they're like, that's super cool. Like, they're pretty cool. And that, like, it was cool because they appreciated it. And then they started to, like, ask me about it. And I was like, it's honestly just the weirdest thing ever. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't. They were like, yeah, I played that when I was in PE, like, in 8th grade. And I was like, yeah, like, honestly.
Is that the one with the hoops and the baskets?
That's the worst. But they all seem to have an understanding of it. And they're like, yeah, we played that in, like, PE or in Hope or whatever. And I was like, yep. And I just got good at it for no reason. So that's, that's what I do. Like, it's like all of a sudden just getting really
Well,
good at,
you
like-
you got really into it from scouts.
Yeah, it was because of camp, and also I feel like it was a combination of just the fact that I really suck at sports. Which
Yeah.
is hilarious. Like,
Well, you clearly don't.
I
suck
know
at
I'm super
footy.
bad at like most. Like I played just about everything. I played football, baseball, basketball.
I would say that out of most sports, that ultimate frisbee is really difficult because like one, it's really hard on your knees, and two, it's like you got to have a lot of endurance,
Mhm.
and there's like a very distinct technique to throwing the frisbee,
Yes.
and all of the stuff that you can well, not the frisbee, the disc. Excuse me. all the ways that you can kind of put like a spin on it, like if you tilt it, it's gonna fly this way, or like the certain throws that you can do to get around certain
Exactly.
situations, and like the one where you can kind of like throw it really low and then it goes
Yeah.
up, and it like maybe it'll like go underneath someone and
that's-
go up.
I always tell people it's like I'd love to play if there was a video game for ultimate frisbee, like I'd play it, but it's never gonna exist. Not just because ultimate
Make
frisbee is
it.
like a fake sport,
Make it, Dylan.
but because like for that exact reason, because there's so many different kinds of throws you can do at any given
Exactly.
moment.
It's
It's
wild.
just gonna be
There's
impossible.
not enough buttons on a controller
Exactly.
to do
It's like
that.
there's no way to simulate that. So it's just
I mean, unless you combined buttons, but like even then,
perhaps it would just be so complicated that because
it
it's
would.
like you make
Because
a
it's
throw
so just
every 10 seconds.
exactly, and the throws alone are just so technical. And there's so for those of you that don't know, in Ultimate, there's this thing called stalling. So once you get the frisbee, the person blocking you counts out
Seconds.
stalls,
Yes.
and you have 10 seconds to throw the disc. Or does it get turned over?
It turns over if they hit the T and 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, really? Okay. So as soon as it gets to 10, it turns over to them, and it's their turn to go for the point.
Yes.
So, and that's a very crucial part of the flow of the game to keep it kind of fast paced. If you were to do an ultimate game, the only way to really get the technicality of the throw, like the finesse of the throws down, is if you like slowed down the game. But then the part of stalls wouldn't really necessarily be there.
And when you get to professional, it's actually just 7, just because they expect you to be
that much better.
expect you to be. But that's what, like, really when it comes down to the throws, because, like, from the outside looking at Ultimate, they're like, oh, that's super hard, because, like, not only do you need to know how to play the sport, like, you need to know where to be and all that kind of stuff, but you also need to know how to throw when you have the disc and, like, get it to where you need it to be. But, like, to a certain point, because I throw an unhealthy amount, like, I throw a whole lot. So it's just entirely muscle memory. And, like, I'm really weird. Like, even my dad can attest to it. Like, in the house, I always have a Frisbee in my hand, and I'm just doing weird little fakes and whatnot. So it's like it's one less thing to think about because I cannot think about that many things.
The thing that's really interesting to me is how plays work, because there are just so many different ways that you can play the game, and it's all based on funneling people into positions where you want them to be.
Exactly, and
it's the game is very
a lot to do with space. And
it's spacing, it's positioning, and it's like
because they're like the ones
and it's like the defensive play. Ultimately, the game is not about trying to while you are trying to get the disc down the field. It's kind of not like you're not always worried about where the disc is. You're more worried about where the people are in the play.
Yeah, it depends. And it depends.
It'll be
different depending on, like, if I'm covering somebody super good, like, I'm gonna watch them almost 100% of the time. But if I'm covering somebody, I think I got them, and I know the thrower is, like, pretty good, you'll try and position yourself in weird ways where you can just to.
And it's I guess where I was going was, like, although defense is like worrying about where the disc is, like, offensive plays are basically we want to be here so that we can get the disc down the field. And defensive plays are kind of like we want to not let them do that.
Yeah, so defense, you can get zones. I love a good zone. Looks super cool to watch just because it's so fluid and, like, moves so well.
We did zones when I played against Woodruff.
Oh yeah, I love to coach zones too. I'm really good at that. But when it comes to plays for, like, offense, if you're not doing, like, 100% just movement, one of the most popular ones, and I like to bring it up just because it, like, really stands to testament in the sport. Like, you put a vert stack. It's just a vertical line of people going.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
Of 4 people, and the one play that's really popular, it's like a set play. It's called prom night, or they have a different name for it. It's prom night, banana, zipper. It works like a zipper. Now you see why it's called prom night. It's really funny. Inappropriate ultimate humor. But what happens is, there's 5 people in the stack, and you have the person in the front closest to the person with the disc.
And they
and 2 people behind them go to the
out.
left, 2 people behind them go to the right, and then the guy in the middle just goes straight out the back and just boost it deep to him. I think that's one of just the most ultimate player plays ever, just because the
prom night, baby.
The name, because it's either banana, zipper, or prom. It's almost always
when we did it, we call it vert stack.
Well, that's the set that you go on. So that's the line of 5 people. That's just a set play. So it's like everybody knows exactly where to go, and there's no second motion or anything. But it's really it's a great sport. It's a lot of fun.
So
I highly recommend it.
We are at almost an hour. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I mean, not really. I mean, this is cool. Like, I've never done this before. That's pretty cool.
Did you at least have fun?
I did. Yeah, it's a good time. It's when I just rant. I feel like that's why you asked me. I was curious as to why it got brought up, just because I was kind of in the middle.
Yeah, that's why.
In the middle of, like, a weird rant. We were talking
about camp, and that's why I asked.
Like, no context at all. You were like, "Want to be in a podcast?" And I was like, "Sure, why?" Oh, that might be free later. I was like, "So
that'll be fun. These are some pretty cool bananas."
It's fun, but I'm curious. Like, I feel like I'm gonna go back and watch this and just get, like, so.
You will. I'm sorry, but
hate my voice.
If there's anything from me editing my own podcast, it's that I will never. Although I love making them, I will never be able to enjoy an episode of my podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because listening to my own voice is always, like, slightly upsetting.
Yeah.
It's like, and it says, like, so it's like when this episode comes out, you won't be able to like sit down and enjoy it because you'll be like, I remember this whole conversation and now I have to listen to my own voice like I'm here in the car with me.
It's like you're in court. It's like you're hearing things you said read back to you and you're like, it's like I should have listened. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool that you do it too. Like, obviously you have a pretty legit hobby. Like obviously I'm super into Frisbee, so that's like a weird thing.
Frisbee.
This is also like a cool little thing that people get into. You got me like hooked on other podcasts.
Yeah.
like I've always hated podcasts, and then I listened to yours, and I started listening to another one.
This is my favorite style of podcast. Like there are ones that are like, oh, this is we're playing D&D, but we're gonna make it more theatrical, and like there are some that are just like, oh, here's just like a radio drama. There's one that's like, oh, here's a documentary on a murder. Yeah. But like these just sit down and people talking podcasts are the ones that like I love. So it's what I wanted to make. So that's why I sit down and made it.
The one I watch is legit. Just they'll ask like super odd questions, like super weird, like this or that kind of questions.
This for that, and these for this.
Just talk about it for a while. It's really funny. So, and then they have like another thing they do on that is they'll just have weird little things that people said to bring up to a certain person. You know what I mean? So it's like if people knew you were having William, for example, on your last show, they were like. Just thinking, they're like, hey, so what should I talk to William about when I have him down sitting in a room and he has no choice but to answer my question?
His hand is taped to the microphone.
Yeah, so it's a good time and it's cool to see you doing it. So yeah,
I mean it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
Super. I've never had anything so official in my life.
I know, it's great. I know, we have a real soundboard.
And it's funny because I say official and we're sitting in your bedroom.
Yeah, I know. I run a very serious podcast. Like, okay, I'm going to take the camera off the mount and we're going to...
The vibe is set.
Like, it's like...
So, we get a vibe check over here?
Vibe check? So it's like, it's like... So the reason that this is here was because I had to clean my room before you came and it's like... That's just all a mess right there. And I wanted to hide it. So it's like, here's what we got going on, all right?
We going to
grab the camera.
Ooh.
Shoot, I have to unhook it. Okay. So
cool guy alert.
It's like obviously we have the mics, but they're just running into the soundboard.
Like the holders.
Yeah, the holders are just on the floor. So it's all running into the soundboard that has a USB coming out of the back that's hooked into my computer that is then recording in Adobe Audition.
The setup. What more could you want?
What more could you want, Dylan?
I don't know.
Get a shot of my closet back there. The mess that is that. Hello. This is a different perspective. See, now we have the
football uniform.
Point of view. You're on a podcast with Dylan.
How weird I am. Hello, welcome to NBC 7. Welcome to weather. This is my green screen. It's gonna rain, maybe.
Dylan, close out the podcast. Make sure you tell them to like, comment, subscribe, and that they can support me on Patreon.
Okay, so. Thank you for watching this episode of Convos with Calvin. Remember to like, subscribe, or what's the other thing?
Ring the notification bell and support him on Patreon.
Support him on Patreon. Follow Spotify. All that great stuff. Do all that. Answer any questions in the comments. Send questions so he has material to go over. It's gonna be great. It's good. Future's bright. Future.